far south coast. But that fresher feel will become more widely felt throughout Wednesday as we're all into that fresher air by the middle of this week. That brings sunny spells and some outbreaks of quite heavy rain. Some of these showers you can see do bring a risk of thunderstorm, which means hail as well as lightning too. So you could see some quite heavy downpours, but some sunshine in between with temperatures much closer to average for this time of year. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for making GB News Radio such a huge success. Whether you're in the car, on the go, or listening at home, thank you for choosing us as your radio station.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. The A31 is closed at Junction 2 in Ringwood, and the M27 is also closed at Junction 2 in Romsey. The M3 eastbound is affected by a collision between junctions 12 and 11 near Winchester South, while the M4 eastbound has an obstruction between junctions 12 and 11 near Reading. The M20 is closed between junctions 7 and 9 in Bearsted. In Scotland, the M8 eastbound is restricted at junction 3. Across Wales, the M4 eastbound at J33 Capel Llanilturn is congested. And on the trains, Greater Anglia services are facing major disruption between Shenfield and Southend Victoria. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Britain is not just a geographical expression. We are a people bound together by history and culture that are distinctively British. Join me to celebrate our music, theatre, artworks and literature, which we can explore and enjoy together.
Everybody's welcome.
Sunday with Michael Portillo. Every Sunday at 11 a.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way. You will not want to miss it, trust me.
The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
More and more people are now tuning in to GB News.
They shape our programmes, we try and incorporate them in our shows as much as we can.
Our audience are really interactive.
Our listeners, our viewers, they're growing.
And that's because they tell their friends and family about what we're doing here at GB News.
It feels like the depth of that connection has strengthened as well.
Thank you so much for speaking to us on GB News.
Come and say hello to everybody that's here from GB News.
It's been an exceptional event.
We've come a long way here now.
Thank you, GB News!
What's so unique about GB News viewers is that they really, really love our country.
And they talk about us so proudly. We're on a journey together.
We are here for all of Britain. We believe in this country, we believe in its people, and we believe in all of the communities who live here.
That's what makes us the fearless champion of Britain.
Good morning, it's 9:30 on Tuesday, the 18th of August. We are live across the United Kingdom. Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Well, are kids fixated on violence? This morning, the Children's Commissioner warns young people are being intoxicated by extremism on social media.
Traveller powers. The Housing Secretary Angela Rayner is softening planning rules for traveller sites, which will make it much harder for councils to block them happening in the first place.
Elsewhere, Moscow vows revenge. Russia says the UK will pay for supplying drones to Ukraine.
And another bus bonus. Andy Burnham rips up the disabled bus pass curfew from April, handing 24/7 free travel across England.
And today, ministers are considering exempting a type of manslaughter charge from the early release scheme to keep PC Harper's killers behind bars.
The lunacy of net stupid zero.
And Reform UK's Deputy Leader Richard Tice, he's upset climate campaigners by saying Brits should embrace and enjoy the summer heatwave and toast it with English fizzy wine.
But meanwhile, we'll be speaking to the brave ladies who risked their own lives to rescue their horses from the wildfires in Stourbridge. Don't miss that.
And it's a royal summer holiday. The King marks the start of the summer break with a special ceremony in Balmoral. The local Tory MP, Andrew Bowie, says it's great news for the area.
Commitment and the passion he shows to local projects, local economy, the money that he himself has invested in businesses, in road infrastructure up here.
And turn it off. Wetherspoons bans playing music or taking calls on phone loudspeakers after drinkers complained they were driven nuts. Is that your phone again, Andrew?
No, definitely not. I go to Wetherspoons occasionally, and the whole point about them is that they have created the great ambience of the old-fashioned traditional pub.
No loud music.
No loud music at all. And so what they don't want then is people, it tends to be men with those phones. Not only do they ring loudly, but for some reason they seem to put the conversations on speaker, so the whole pub has to hear it. Not interesting. Keep it between yourself.
In the past, it would have
Or go outside and take the call.
That's right, or get some headphones. I was on a train the other day and there were some younger men actually playing music and TikTok videos really, really loudly. There were 4 or 5 of them, and several of us on the carriage trying to work or read. So I walked up to them and said, "Lads, have you got any headphones?" They're like, "No." So, well, would you mind turning your music off? None of us really want to hear it. And they said, it's a private space. I was like, it's called public transport. But it's just like no comprehension of how irritating. Well, maybe they do know how irritating.
And did they turn it down in the end?
They turned it up to start with. So I went and had another go at them, and then they did actually turn it off.
Very brave, because you could have got a mouthful of abuse.
I know, and I did, but you can't just let it go. And there were plenty of other people in the carriage, and anyway, very annoying. If they're watching now, get some headphones.
Get some headphones, quite right. Now, as ever, we want to know what you think. Send your views, post your comments by visiting
gbnews.com/your say. But first, here's your 60-second news update with Tatiana Sanchez.
Good morning. The top stories from the GB Newsroom. Prime Minister Andy Burnham is considering a rule change to block the early release of PC Andrew Harper's killers. Albert Bowers and Jesse Cole are set to be freed under the government's early release scheme, sparking outrage across the nation. Elsewhere, a couple on their honeymoon has died alongside the pilot in a helicopter crash on a popular Greek tourist island of Sifnos. The private helicopter plunged to the ground near a helipad in the Tholos area about 6:17 p.m. local time yesterday, killing all three people on board, according to the Greek fire service. The UK has responded to Russia's threats following reports Ukraine is using British drones to carry out strikes against the country. A Ministry of Defence spokesperson said that Britain stands shoulder to shoulder with Ukraine and is committed to providing the equipment the country needs to defend itself. And the government is set to expand free bus travel for disabled people from April next year as part of the new Prime Minister's bid to ease the cost of living. The move will cost £60 million, which Downing Street says will be funded from existing budgets. Those are the latest headlines. More at 10 o'clock.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello, good morning and welcome. You're watching Britain's Newsroom. We're live across the United Kingdom on GB News with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
So can the right unite on how to deal with Britain's burgeoning welfare bill, which is running at over 300 billion a year?
It is. Well, yesterday the Reform UK party proposed a ban on most benefits for foreign nationals living in the UK, claiming that the policy will save £21 billion a year by its fifth year of operation.
We can now talk to the Tories' Shadow Business Secretary, Andrew Griffith. Mr Griffith, good morning to you. Good morning to you, Mr Griffith.
Good morning.
There is a crisis in welfare. It's far too big, the welfare bill. It's going up every month, every year. Could you and Reform not bury your differences and work together? Because they came up with some interesting ideas yesterday. I'm sure you could come up with some too, to come up with a joint action plan to cut the bill.
Well, I'm delighted that there's a growing consensus on this. It's something that Conservatives have been raising for a very long period of time. As an adherent of sound public finances, I am appalled by the way in which the welfare bill has burgeoned. That's put up cost of taxes on business, on ordinary people, prevented us, in fact, cutting the taxes that we need to do. So yesterday, some interesting contributions. A lot of them date back to proposals that were made by the Centre for Social Justice, set up by Conservative Ian Duncan-Smith, and indeed proposals that have been put forward by the shadow team. So if that consensus makes it more likely that we get a government, I believe a Conservative-led government, that will implement those and finally tackle this scourge on the public finances and get people back into work, then that is all to the good, all very welcome. I think your viewers will welcome that as well.
But do you accept that some of what Reform proposed yesterday is not just popular, could be workable, and therefore the Tories could embrace it?
Look, I'm not into knee-jerk opposition. I mean, either of this terrible socialist government or of other parties who put forward their own ideas. That's the best part of politics as someone who came from business. I'm interested in ideas that are going to help take our country forward and be more prosperous, and that does, yes, include wherever on the political spectrum they come from. Now, we've got our own ideas, our own work, our own commissions going on in formulating policy, and by the time of the next election, before anyone gets to cast a ballot, they will see in detail what our detailed proposals on welfare are. Today I'm talking about how we can help get young people on those ladders of opportunity. Another thing that over the last few decades, more and more red tape, including some of it from Brussels, is preventing young people getting what perhaps you had and I certainly had, which was a summer job or weekend work, giving me that first experience of work, of adult life, something to put on my CV and give me some experience of life to help.
So you've announced certain changes that you would bring into the employment of young people were you to win the next general election, including removing some of the restrictions about weekend working and the number of hours that children are allowed to work in a row, and I'm sure many businesses will welcome that. But aren't the real problems to do with things like our health and safety legislation and the way that employers can be very, very nervous of employing under 18s or under 16s because of their fears about responsibility and safeguarding? That's what really stops employers taking young people on, isn't it, rather than particular working time directives?
No, I think I'd agree that there's too much health and safety legislation in general, and sometimes the way that's been interpreted. But that, of course, applies to people at every age of life. What we're talking about in particular are those extra rules, complex rules, that are different for 16, 17, 18-year-olds, different if you're in education than if you're not.
That is the root cause of the youth unemployment crisis? I mean, the rise in NEETs that we're seeing today started in 2018. There was one exceptional year where it went down, but that was during COVID when lots of people signed on for universal credit. And the biggest jump in NEETs was between 2022 and 2023. This is a problem that has been going on for a long time. Perhaps it's more to do with mass immigration. I mean, another CSJ finding was that for every young Brit taken on in work since 2020, 27 non-EU migrants were given jobs. Isn't that the root cause of the NEET crisis rather than regulation?
I think we will find, in fact, I talk to businesses every single day about precisely this topic, that there's no one single root cause. And what we're announcing today are a set of serious proposals to help move this forward, to restore the health of sectors like hospitality, retail, tourism and leisure that have often provided those summer jobs or weekend opportunities for young people. So no single silver bullet. Some of the causes that you mentioned I completely agree with. I also acknowledged in my remarks this is something that has gone on for too long, for decades, but this government is making incalculably worse by putting up taxes and passing the 330-page Employment Rights Act written by the trade unions. So we're coming up with the proposals, the detailed work, the line-by-line scrutiny of legislation, looking at how we're going to repeal some of those European directives now that we've left the European political union. That's the work of opposition, and that's the work that helps the Conservative Party get ready for government when we can fix this problem and once again make our nation great.
It's interesting that you're going to look at some of these EU working time directives, Mr. Griffiths, because you had plenty of opportunity to do that when you were in government. We left the European Union formally in 2022. You had a couple of years after that, and not much work was done there.
Look, in fairness, there was a lot of work that was done around that period of time. You can't do every single thing on day one. I would have liked us, even in government, to have gone further and faster at the time. There's no bones about that. That's why the changed Conservatives under Kemi Badenoch are coming up with ideas that are different, just as the Conservative Party under Mrs Thatcher was very different from the Conservative Party in power under Edward Heath. Parties change, people change, leadership matters, and we are doing the work and making a guarantee that we will repeal these regulations that are outdated and holding our young people back as part of a contribution to solving that youth unemployment crisis and making Britain's economy work again.
I can tell you one issue that's really angering our listeners and viewers today, Mr. Griffith. It's the story in a lot of the newspapers today that Angela Rayner is going to make it a lot easier for more traveller sites up and down the country and to make it more difficult for councils to repel them. What do you say to that?
Well, it's unbelievable that Angela Rayner wants to prolong a two-tier planning system where there's one set of planning rules for you and I if you want to put on a small attic extension or change the look of your house, but other communities are allowed to invade green spaces, concrete overland illegally over the course of a weekend, flout planning regulations. The situation is already bad, and it's absolutely shocking that Angela Rayner is seeking to make that worse. Why would she want to do that? Upset law-abiding communities, make councils look like fools because they can't control what's going on in their own local democracy. It's the opposite, isn't it, of devolution. It's about Angela Rayner thinking she knows best rather than local communities and local democratic authorities.
Thank you, Andrew Griffiths, for your time this morning. That's Andrew Griffiths, the Shadow Business Secretary.
Thank you.
It's a very interesting timing from Angela Rayner to announce this, what will be incredibly unpopular
really unpopular
policy.
And coming just a week after the Prime Minister told GB News that middle-class areas have got to take their share of illegal migrants. What are they doing to this country? This is another form of class warfare.
Yeah, it is, and
because a lot of these travellers will end up in nice rural villages, and the deputy, she's not the deputy prime minister now, the housing secretary is going to make it easy for them to set up shop, and almost impossible for councils to get rid of them. It's an outrage.
Well, this is tied to some of the other reforms that she's announcing around allowing more properties to be built near train stations, which I think is a good idea. The problem is some of those are in the green belt, and so that's why they've got this legislative problem. But yeah, I mean, a strange thing to announce.
Really, I'm sure people are very, well, and we know in the York States people are very, very angry about it.
Now, shortly after 11, we're going to be talking to a local councillor who has got lots to say on this issue.
Absolutely. Now, still ahead, Moscow's vowing revenge on the United Kingdom, saying Britain will have to pay for supplying drones to the UK. What do they mean by that?
Also, find out why the Children's Commissioner, Rachel D'Souza, has warned young people are being intoxicated by extremism on social media and what can be done to stop it.
But first, if you're in search of some of that holiday sun, here's the forecast of some of those top European destinations.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there. Still plenty of dry and sunny weather across much of Europe. Thunderstorms, though, will start to break out across parts of northern Italy and the Alps through the end of this week. Through Wednesday, though, high pressure's generally in charge. So much of Spain and Portugal seeing dry weather with temperatures in the high 20s, low 30s. You can see that outbreaks of rain starting to develop across northern areas of Italy there. That's signs of things to come. Severe thunderstorms through Thursday and Friday for a time. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Joining us now is Head of Advocacy at Big Brother Watch, Jack Colson. Jack, interested to know your view on this. You know, why shouldn't I be able to wear my Meta glasses around?
Well, certainly there are times and places where Meta glasses might be of use, particularly for those with visual impairments. The technology really could be a breakthrough, but we see these as the tip of an iceberg. Meta's glasses have already been potentially linked to facial recognition technology, which really would be a stalker's charter. And we are operating in an environment where perpetrators of harassment feel safe to use this technology when really it's the public who ought to feel safe. So the government ultimately are going to have to explore restrictions on this kind of technology, and we're seeing civil society push back.
GB News, the People's Channel. GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
I do think it's worrying that young people, I mean, are they risk? I think they are more risk averse. Yes. I think they are scared of getting into personal space. I think you're right. There are issues about consent and everything else. But how sad that people say that it's been a year since they've been kissed. What is life for if you're not having a little kiss every now and again?
Yeah, the death of the kiss.
Apparently, much younger people now haven't had a good snog in over 12 months on average, the people that have been interviewed. But I would hazard a guess that that's because people are frightened. Men don't know when they can approach women anymore. Men can think 1 or 2 steps ahead on the same board, whereas a woman will think about 18 steps. So
I think you're overthinking it.
If a man takes you to Paris for the weekend, a woman will come back disappointed that they haven't proposed to them, whereas a man thinks they've done a really great thing.
Why do men always think you're going to be proposed to in Paris? That you expect that. We don't expect that. Just take us to Paris.
The People's Channel. Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
I'm thrilled to say now I'm joined by another World War II veteran.
In my judgment, the Mosquito was a better aircraft because it's got 2 Spitfire engines.
And you flew it all over Europe. You told me that you had a particularly memorable flight near Berlin. What happened there?
A shell came up underneath, it lifted up the aircraft and it interfered for a brief period with the fuel supply. I didn't know. All I knew was I'd got the propellers were windmilling around and we hadn't any power. And eventually the power came on again. And I leaned across to Doug, my navigator. He was a Canadian, a wonderful bloke. And I said to him, you weren't frightened, were you, Doug? And he said, no, I wasn't frightened, I was bloody terrified.
GB News.
It is nearly 11 minutes to 10 and you're watching Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
We've got a few texts and emails coming in, I think, Miriam.
We have. Paul says the rise of youth unemployment is because of mass migration. It isn't rocket science. I do agree with that. I think all the evidence suggests that jobs that would have in the past gone to school leavers are now going to migrants, and that's certainly what the figures that the CSJ have produced suggest.
And just look at the people on the dinghies. They're young men.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, although they're not allowed to work as asylum seekers,
but we know a lot of them disappear into the black economy.
But do you remember? Was it last week?
The delivery drivers, cyclists, they're all migrants.
That's right. And a couple of weeks ago, we were looking at how small businesses, shops were able to issue skilled worker visas for hundreds potentially of applicants who come over to do what you wouldn't really call a skilled job, working in a chicken shop, something like that. But those are jobs that in the past British young people would have been given and now are going to foreigners who have been brought from abroad for that purpose. I mean, I think all the other things are important too. The red tape, the health and safety, you know, kind of loss of some skills. But I think the mass migration point is probably the most important.
Absolutely.
And John says, why don't the right-leaning parties get together? Their policies are generally common sense and a contrast from those on the left.
I'm sure if you added up votes for Reform, Restore and the Conservatives, they would outnumber Labour and the Lib Dems. And yet the vote is going to be badly fractured at the next election, which means it will be a left-Labour coalition or just Labour win again.
Yeah, could happen. Well, Reform and the Conservatives do have similar views on welfare, but do either of their numbers add up? Well, joining us now is the economist Julian Jessup. Julian, good morning. Thank you, as always, for joining us on Britain's Newsroom. Good morning. Now, yesterday, Reform UK did a press conference. They talked about how they're going to save £50 billion from the welfare budget, which is a very, very substantial sum, almost a third of the working age welfare bill. What do you make of their proposals? Could they work?
Well, first of all, I was really pleased to see them. I think Reform deserves some credit for leading the way here and setting out a challenge to other parties to come up with something similar. And also, it's a relatively detailed plan compared to some of the ideas Reform has come up with over the last few years. So that's the big plus. I think that 50 billion figure, though, is far too ambitious. If you dig into some of the detail, there are lots of question marks around whether or not they'll be able to make really big savings simply by tightening eligibility. I think there are concerns about the additional burden that might be imposed on local authorities and employers in some cases. And I'm also not completely comfortable with the idea of removing the eligibility of all foreign nationals from the benefit system, even if they've lived here, worked and paid taxes for many, many years. So there are some question marks about the detail, but certainly full marks for ambition.
But what the Reform MP Danny Kruger said in response to that point was, if you've got settled status, if you've been living here, working here and paying taxes for years or decades, why not just get citizenship and then you are eligible for benefits? Surely that would be the easy way to fix this.
Well, citizenship's quite an important thing to most people. I mean, I would feel uncomfortable adopting somebody else's citizenship for any reason. I regard myself as British. So even if I'm a British person living in France, I want to retain my British citizenship. So I'm not sure that's a completely compelling argument. I think a lot of people, want to have one single nationality and stick with it.
What did you make also, Mr. Jessup, of the plan which seemed to be very popular, that they would compel people who have been on long-term benefits to do work in the community up to 20 hours a week, charity work, community work? Sounds a good idea, but I still wonder how you will compel these people, if they've been long-term unemployed, into getting off their backsides, putting it bluntly.
Well, my reaction to that is I'm sure we've heard that many times over several years and decades. There's nothing new in that idea of forcing people to do things. I think it's absolutely right. If you're receiving a benefit and for whatever reason you're not working, then you should be able to do something to pay back the community. But I don't think that's new. I don't think that's magically going to deliver a big reduction in the number of people claiming benefits.
And just very, very briefly, because we're running short of time, the plans to ask employers to take out insurance for sickness benefits, do you think that's a positive? Could that help get people back to work?
Well, I'm actually in favour of the idea of trying to use the private sector as much as possible. So I think there should be private markets for insurance against losing your job. It shouldn't necessarily be employers. It might be employees as well who can take that insurance on. So I think there is too often a presumption that only the state can protect people against risks such as losing your job or having a big fall in your income. I'm sure there's scope for private markets to do more as well.
Julian Jessup, as always, thank you so much for your expertise.
Always good to talk to him, isn't it? Now, still ahead, we're going to speak to these brave women who risked their own lives to rescue horses from those appalling wildfires in Stourbridge. You won't want to miss that interview. This is Britain's Newsroom, Britain's favourite morning show. We are on GB News.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning, welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. A cloudier day for many of us, outbreaks of rain to start. It will become a little bit drier into this afternoon, and across the south and east it will stay rather warm. Elsewhere it's turned much cooler with northwesterlies moving in. Those will bring in showers to many northwestern areas through much of the day, but further south across parts of Wales and the Midlands it's going to brighten up into the afternoon. Slightly murkier weather pushes into the south and east by the end of today though, but it should remain dry across many southern areas. Still quite warm in the south, temperatures still climbing towards the higher 20s, 27 possible across the very far south and east. Into this evening, rain will become a little bit more persistent for more southern areas and showers continue across more northern areas. Some of these quite heavy actually across the far north of Scotland. You can see those brighter colours. That shows where we'll see the heavier rain. It will be showery, so not everyone's going to see that heavier rain. And across eastern areas of Scotland, it will stay largely dry through this evening and overnight, with the showers more focused across western areas, pushing into parts of northwestern England, North Wales too. A dry start to the night across the south, but that will change as the night goes on. An area of quite light rain but persistent will push across more southern and central areas of England and Wales, bringing most areas a little bit of water on the ground. It isn't going to last all that long as it does clear through by Wednesday, but further showers are on the way throughout Thursday. Fairly fresh night for more northern areas, still quite mild and humid across the very far south coast. But that fresher feel will become more widely felt throughout Wednesday as we're all into that fresher air by the middle of this week. That brings sunny spells and some outbreaks of quite heavy rain. Some of these showers you can see do bring a risk of thunderstorm, which means hail as well as lightning too. So you could see some quite heavy downpours, but some sunshine in between, with temperatures much closer to average for this time of year. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for all of you who listen to GB News Radio.
Whether you're at home or on the go, you're making us Britain's news channel and Britain's radio station.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. The A31 is closed at Junction 2 in Ringwood. The M27 westbound is closed between Junctions 4 and 3 in Southampton West. The M20 is closed between Junctions 7 and 9 in Bearsted. The M25 anti-clockwise is closed between Junctions 27 and 26 in Waltham Abbey. In Scotland, the M77 northbound has queuing and lane restrictions between Junctions 3 and 4. Across Wales, the A44 from Aberystwyth to Llanbadarn 4 is closed. And on the trains, Greater Anglia has major disruption between Shenfield and Southend Victoria. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
It's the final week to see how you could win over £65,000 in prizes. You could be our latest Great British Giveaway winner. First of all, we want to give you £60,000 in tax-free cash. Plus, you'll also receive a fine gold bar worth over £5,000.
For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
At the stroke of midnight, the news doesn't stop, and neither do we.
Day in, day out. Forget stuffy late night TV shows. We're giving you a front row ticket to the centre of the political universe.
Because breaking news doesn't wait for the morning.
And neither do we. Join us for one of the most controversial and volatile times of politics in human history.
A very big story.
Big story over here.
You won't get this anywhere else. The Late Show live at midnight, every night.
Only on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock on Tuesday the 18th of August. We're live across the United Kingdom. This is Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Moscow is vowing revenge. Russia says the UK will pay for supplying drones to Ukraine. What do they mean by that?
Well, of course, the UK supplied drones. Many hundreds of them are penetrating deep inside Russia to the capital city.
And elsewhere, children are fixated on violence. This morning, the Children's Clinic warns that young people are being intoxicated by extremism on social media.
Traveller powers. The Housing Secretary, Angela Rayner, is softening rules to enable traveller sites and making it harder for councils to repel them.
And today, ministers consider exempting a type of manslaughter offence from the early release scheme to keep PC Harper's killers behind bars.
The lunacy of net stupid zero.
Leader Richard Tice has upset climate campaigners by saying Brits should embrace and enjoy the summer heatwave, which he says is good for grapes.
And we'll speak to the brave ladies who risked their own lives to rescue horses from the wildfires in Stourbridge.
And it's summer holiday time for His Majesty. King Charles marks the start of the summer break with a special ceremony in Balmoral. The local Conservative MP, Andrew Bowie, says it's good for business for the area.
Commitment and the passion he showed local projects, local economy, the money that he himself has invested in businesses, in road infrastructure up here.
Well, very shortly the King will arrive for a ceremonial welcome outside the gates of Balmoral Castle, and for the first time in almost 100 years he's bringing back a very special tradition to the gates. Find out shortly.
And Turn It Off. Wetherspoons bans playing music or taking calls on phone loudspeakers. The drinkers complain they were being driven nuts.
Well, he knew what he was doing when he upset the climate campaigners, Richard Tice. He said, just enjoy the heatwave. Great for grapes. So he said, enjoy the heatwave with a glass of English fizzy wine.
Well, it is true that rising temperatures have made English wine a bit more of a speciality, but there are upsides and downsides, aren't there? I mean, in some ways, the heatwave is amazing. It's incredible to have a kind of Mediterranean summer and not to think about when it's going to be cold and rainy. But consequences for farmers are going to be severe.
And food prices in particular. There'll be shortages, there's wheat shortages, and food prices will go up. And also, it's devastating for the countryside.
Absolutely.
I mean, you see green
Everywhere's
fields.
brown.
Yeah. I walked through that Dean's Yard in Westminster yesterday. Normally a beautiful verdant green lawn, absolutely parched.
Yeah,
terrible.
Incredible. And you know, when you fly over a country like Spain or Portugal, it looks brown. Well, Britain is looking like that now. But the thing is, I don't think we should catastrophise about it. There are things we can do about this: better water storage, more reservoirs, looking at soil health, things like this. We've just got to prepare more for summers like this, I think.
Yeah, but we never do that.
But I'm not sure calling it net stupid zero is really helpful anymore.
I'm not sure it is. As ever, tell us what you think. Send your views, post your comments by visiting
gbnews.com/your say. But first, here's the news with Tatiana Sanchez.
Thank you very much and good morning. The top stories. Prime Minister Andy Burnham is considering a rule change to block the early release of PC Andrew Harper's killers. Albert Bowers and Jesse Cole are set to be freed under the government's early release scheme, sparking outrage across the nation. in an attempt to prevent the pair from being freed. Ministers are reportedly willing to introduce an exemption that would stop those convicted of a certain type of manslaughter from being automatically released. The specification surrounds those who committed an unlawful act of manslaughter.
None of us want to see these people released early. We all understand why it would have such a devastating impact on PC Andrew Harper's family. And that's why the Prime Minister has been so determined to do something about it and has charged the Justice Secretary with finding a solution. I'm not going to speculate on what that solution is, but I'm confident that our Justice Secretary, Alex Norris, will come up with a solution.
The UK has responded to Russia's threats following reports Ukraine is using British drones to carry out strikes against the country. A Ministry of Defence spokesperson said Britain stands shoulder to shoulder with Ukraine and is committed to providing the equipment the country needs to defend itself. Built by two separate British companies, the drones in question have been used inside Russia in widespread and successful targeting of military and industrial targets, including refineries and warehouses of the online retailer Wildberries. In a statement from the Russian embassy to the UK on Monday, they warned London's actions will carry consequences. Elsewhere, a couple on their honeymoon has died alongside the pilot in a helicopter crash on the popular Greek tourist island of Sifnos. The private helicopter plunged to the ground near a helipad in the Tholos area around 6:17 p.m. local time yesterday, killing all three people on board, according to the Greek fire service. The British couple had reportedly travelled from England to Greece for their honeymoon and were being flown by a private air taxi company, a Greek news outlet has reported. Now, a 55-year-old man has been charged with manslaughter over the death of a man who was bitten by a dog on a footpath. West Yorkshire police officers were called to reports of an altercation on the old train line footpath off Blacker Lane in the Calder Grove area of Wakefield on Saturday afternoon. The force said a 55-year-old man was bitten by a dog during that altercation and later died in hospital. 55-year-old Lee Ellis has been remanded in custody and is due to appear in court today. A German shepherd thought to have been involved has been seized by police. Elsewhere, the number of job vacancies has fallen to its lowest level in more than 5 years as smaller businesses cut back on recruitment, the latest official figures indicate. Vacancy numbers dipped slightly over the May to July period to 707,000, according to the Office for National Statistics, which said all firms were citing labour and operating costs as reasons for scaling back hiring. The ONS said the labour market was little changed overall, with the unemployment rate remaining at 4.9%. Growth in regular earnings, which excludes bonuses, picked up slightly, rising at an annual pace of 3.5% in the 3 months to June. In other news, today the government is set to expand free bus travel for disabled people from April next year as part of the new Prime Minister's bid to ease the cost of living. The time restrictions for eligible disabled people will be lifted on their bus passes so they can travel all day, every day for free. Currently, disabled bus passes are valid for travel only on weekdays from 9:30 a.m. to 11 p.m. unless local authorities fund an extension. The move will cost £60 million, which Downing Street says will be funded from existing budgets. And in the opening day of US rapper Tupac Shakur's murder trial, prosecutors painted former gang leader Duane Davis as someone seeking revenge before masterminding the drive-by shooting that killed him that night. Witnesses took a Las Vegas jury back in time 3 decades ago to the night Shakur was shot, when gangs had a hold over 90s hip-hop and distrust in police led to a lack of cooperation and one of the most famous cold cases of the last century. 63-year-old Davis is charged with Shakur's murder. Prosecutors allege that although Davis didn't fire the gun that killed Tupac Shakur, he allegedly orchestrated the killing. Davis denied the allegations and pleaded not guilty. Those are the latest GB News headlines. More in half an hour.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more, or visit gbnews.com/truth.
Hello, good morning. Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom. We're live across the United Kingdom on GB News with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Well, Britain has responded to Russia's threats following reports Ukraine is using British drones to carry out strikes deep in the heart of Russia.
Well, a Ministry of Defence spokesperson said Britain stands shoulder to shoulder with Ukraine and is committed to providing the equipment that the country needs to defend itself.
Well, let's talk to GB News Home and Security Editor Mark White. The bellicose language coming out of Russia, what do they mean when they say, Mark, that we will pay for it? Are they going to attack this country?
Well, I think we'd be very naive to believe that they're not already involved in what they call grey zone activity against the UK and many other European countries. Those are attacks that are just below the threshold that would elicit a military response from a nation. So attacks against pipelines that we've seen, of course, warehouses that are used by companies that are working with the Ukrainians, for instance, in arms manufacturing or perhaps supplying other assets to Ukraine as well. There have been targeted assassination plots, all kinds of activity. We know, for instance, about the attacks that take place in the cyber domain all of the time. So this kind of grey zone activity is happening. I would imagine that Russia will want to step up that activity and maybe look for more significant targets, because I think what is happening now goes a step beyond what we've seen in terms of what Russia would see as a provocation, because right from the get-go, when the UK and other countries got involved in assisting Ukraine, we've had these bellicose threats from Russia before. When we gave the Russians, for instance, the NLAW anti-tank missiles, that proved very decisive in the early stages of preventing that big cavalcade, that huge convoy of Russian armaments heading towards the capital, Kyiv. And then after that, at various points, when we've given them heavier armaments, when we've given them Storm Shadow missiles, Russia has always threatened retaliation as well. The difference with the likes of the Storm Shadow weapons is they were always used usually against kind of military targets a bit closer to the Ukrainian border and not as deep inland as we're seeing now. There are thousands of these attack drones that are being supplied by the UK to Ukraine to supplement their own very significant attack drones that they have. They're manufacturing themselves as well. And now they've changed their targeting. They're going right into the heart of Russia, right into Moscow. They're going after logistics hubs, critical national infrastructure. It's having a very significant effect, especially in terms of the fuel crisis now being experienced across Russia because of these very significant attacks on the sort of oil and gas facilities right across Russia.
And what are the legal implications for British involvement? Where's the line between supplying or donating weapons to Ukraine and actually being technically at war with Russia? And I think I remember in the early days of the war, there was this debate about whether or not NATO could give jet planes, fighter planes to Ukraine, and somebody arguing that they should be towed over the border from Poland, because if they were flown into Ukraine, that would count as a declaration of war. How does this work?
Yeah, I think we've pushed on that boundary so far that, it to a degree is a bit meaningless. We are in this war, not just as the United States and, of course, many other European countries in the armaments that we've supplied, the jet fighters, the tanks, and now, of course, the missiles and the drone systems. We're headlong in there. There are military personnel from the West working directly in Ukraine as well, helping with targeting and advice on what to target going forward. So, we're right in there. And of course, from Russia's point of view, that is a real old thorn in the paw for the Russian bear. They are very, very exercised by Britain in particular. I think it has a special place in its heart.
Why do they hate it so much? Because he clearly does, Putin.
Part of it, I think, is because we've been front and centre ever since the start of this conflict in pushing back very significantly against what we see, obviously, as the Russian aggression into Ukraine. And we've been, you know, full square behind the Ukrainian leadership and leading the calls internationally for more countries to do more. That's part of the reason. And I think just historically as well, there's always been a special beef, hasn't there, between Britain and Russia, you know, on espionage terms for many, many decades.
I wonder also, Britain took a big role in training up Ukrainian troops after the 2014 invasion of Crimea. We've been quite actively involved in Ukraine since then, so perhaps he sees us as warmongers.
Yeah,
It'd be ironic, wouldn't it?
As the part that the UK has played in particular, and the Ukrainians know this, has been very significant indeed. And you're right to point out to the issues. Long before anybody else was seeing what was on the horizon, the UK was in there and helping train up Ukrainian forces to deal with the onslaught that they were about to face.
Fascinating.
Mark White, as always, thank you very much for your expertise.
Well, now wildfires are continuing to wreak havoc across the UK. Brave people from the Sugarload Equestrian Centre risked their own lives to rescue horses from the blaze which took hold of Stourbridge.
Well, Charlotte Griffith from the Sugarloaf Equestrian Centre joins us now. Charlotte, good morning. Thank you so much for speaking to GB News. A terrifying experience for you and the horses. Tell us about what happened and how you rescued them.
So there was a big group of us who was involved. There was from Sugarloaf. Two of our yard manager and our head girl had gone down to look what was going on. One of the girls, Izzy, got a phone call to say what was happening, and me, Sophie, Ellie, Izzy got picked up by Helen to go down. There was 3 horses in the field, which was on fire. And yeah, we went in, got the gate open, which they were our friends' horses, they weren't actually ours. So we got the combination of them, went in, caught the horses, and then we ended up going up Racecourse Lane through the Norton estate, and then someone came and picked them up in a horse box, just because within seconds the field was gone. It was just engulfed with the smoke and the fire. It was awful.
Did you hesitate, Charlotte, or did you women just dive straight in to get them?
I think all of us, it was just a moment of just go in, do it. I don't think any of us thought about it, because I think if we had left the horses in there any longer, they would have ended up getting burnt. It was awful. It was moving so quickly, as you can see how much the fire spread over Stourbridge.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it was just adrenaline. All of us just went, right, we've got to go in and get those horses. So that's what we did.
And were the horses very nervous and scared because of the smoke and the flames?
When we got there, they were just stood in a small group. They were just watching the fire. When they were easy to catch, we had some pony nuts for them, just to catch them, to make it easier because we didn't want to spook them or anything. And yeah, went in, got the horses, and then they seemed okay. They're a little bit on edge, maybe on the road and stuff, because there was a lot going on. There was firefighters, fire engines, police, loads of members of the public, community, everything. So there was a lot going on. So I think that didn't help with it. But yeah, they were pretty calm considering what was going on.
And are you all okay? Have any of the rescuers experienced any ill effects?
Not really. I think one of our girls, Abby, she's had to be checked over, but overall, most of us have been fine. I think it was more due to the smoke. The fire was close to us, but didn't really come close enough to any of us. It was just the smoke. It was just everywhere. You couldn't really see what was going on around you.
You're so brave. I'm not even brave enough to get on a horse, let alone to go racing into a fire, rescue horses. Because I mean, they're magnificent creatures, but they just scare me. Don't you think?
Well, absolutely. Well, Charlotte Griffith from the Sugarloaf Equestrian Centre, thank you so much for joining us this morning, and well done to you and all your colleagues on your bravery.
Absolutely right.
Thank you.
Now it's time for the Great British Giveaway. It's your chance to get your £60,000 cash and a gold bar. There's just 3 days left, so here's how you do it.
Welcome to Orla Santi by Domes Resorts. There's just 2 days left to see how you could win big in our golden summer celebration. And you could be enjoying a golden year with an incredible £60,000 to be won. That's tax-free cash that you'll get to spend on anything you like. What would you do with it? You could relax knowing that we've got those day-to-day financial pressures sorted. Or find yourself celebrating in the lap of five-star luxury, somewhere like here, the Spritzeria. Plus, we'll give you a fine gold bullion bar worth over £5,000 that you can keep or gift to a loved one. Make sure you don't miss out as lines close on Friday.
For a chance to win £60,000 in tax-free cash and a real gold bar, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, coming up next, more freebies from Labour. Andy Burnham rips up the disabled bus pass curfew from April, handing 24/7 free travel across England.
Well, we're going through that and more with our panel today, which is Samuel Sweet and Piers Pottinger. There they are. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Allow.
Stop.
You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain is not just a geographical expression. We are a people bound together by history and culture that are distinctively British. Join me to celebrate our music, theatre, artworks and literature, which we can explore and enjoy together.
Everybody's welcome.
Sunday with Michael Portillo. Every Sunday at 11 a.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
It's It's 23 minutes past 10. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Well, we've got our panellists here. We've got the political commentator Piers Pottinger and Samuel Sweet who are in the studio. And, gentlemen, what are you talking to us about today? Andy Burnham.
Andy Burnham, yes. Well, I suppose, if we must. Yes, the man who still thinks he's running some buses rather than this country.
It does feel a bit like that. He's still in Mayor of Manchester mode.
Well, he keeps boasting about things he's done. First of all, he hasn't actually done any of them. He's talked about them, but they haven't actually happened. He's also doing all this during a parliamentary recess, so Parliament hasn't had any chance to question him about the veracity or even the funding of anything he's said he's going to do. He's also made the mistake of being pranked, and I'm afraid if you're Prime Minister, it's your fault, not the person playing the prank, who I'm sure will be revealed at some point, unless if they're not, it's more serious, because that would mean it's probably some evil force. And incidentally, we still haven't heard Andy Burnham on any of the major issues affecting this country in the world at the moment. And now he looks like postponing the answer on North Sea oil. Everyone involved in energy in this country knows that we need to switch on the North Sea oil and stop importing hugely expensive energy from China, which is absurd, and it gives our businesses the highest energy costs in the G7, which makes them uncompetitive and stops them employing people. I mean, this government doesn't understand basic economics, let alone how to warn people about not using disposable barbecues. I mean, Andy Burnham looks just like a tinkerer rather than a Prime Minister.
Is it too much, what do you think, Samuel, too much micromanaging rather than macro?
It's really hard to say, actually, Andrew, because, you know, like Piers says there, he's not gone before Parliament at all since being the Prime Minister. He's in a position which must be like ruthlessly scrutinised every single second of every single day. The country has welcomed, well, they haven't welcomed a new Prime Minister, they've got a new Prime Minister, they haven't had really the opportunity to welcome him yet. Obviously, there's a lot to be said about Starmer's outgoing government, a lot that was unpopular, a lot that went wrong. Andy Burnham is yet to answer any questions as to really what he would do differently beyond, and Piers actually stole my word there, beyond tinkering around the edges. I mean, some of it is quite positive. I'm pleased that he looks to be investing more in public transport, but also particularly, you know, we have to ask the questions about, is that going to involve cuts to other areas? How are we going to be investing in this? You know, he needs to go before Parliament.
Because they weren't able to tell us how they were going to fund the cut in bus fares.
No, well, no, the investment, investments in expanding free travel, which I am totally all for. But one lesson I've learned from Labour governments of recent is that they are just as prepared as the Tory government that they succeeded from to make cuts to other areas. So the proof will really be in the scrutiny when the country gets the opportunity and Parliament gets the opportunity.
But I mean, the other thing about Burnham in Manchester, he boasts about the success of the buses, yet he got over £1 billion from UK taxpayers to run that, set that up, and it loses £150 million every year. And so that, if that's a success, I'd like to see something that isn't working terribly well. He's also was mayor of Greater Manchester, which also, as a council, has the highest debt of any council in the UK. And I mean, it's huge, over £1.5 billion. That's aside from the buses. I mean, the man believes in borrowing, and we're already borrowed up to the hilt. And, you know, as Sam says, I mean, he talks about investing in all these things. It all sounds wonderful, but we don't know how on earth he's going to fund it, and I don't think he does.
No.
But Samuel, aside from the funding, what about the politics of this? Because Andy Burnham's trying to appeal to his base, to the people who left the Labour Party and started voting Reform, of which there were many at their local elections, for example. These are the kind of policies that may seem small or insignificant in the Westminster bubble, but actually may play out well on the doorstep.
Well, I mean, I would also argue that Labour Party bled out to the left and many people joined and ended up supporting the Green Party at the last set of local elections as well. Obviously, councils in the Labour heartlands in London were absolutely swept by the Green Party. So he's got a difficult balancing act to sort of navigate. And again, I don't think it really helps anybody, particularly him, that he's not able to actually address the country, address Parliament and answer these tough questions, to slap down criticism where it's necessary. He has left himself completely exposed. It's really bad politics, it's bad optics, as much as the policies on paper do sound quite good, some of them. Again, where are we in terms of the scrutiny that needs to go into actually implementing them?
I think his honeymoon period is definitely over.
Do you already?
And over sooner than he might have hoped for. And the Greens, on the other hand, are also on decline.
Yeah.
Because people are quite rightly very suspicious of Mr. Polanski. I mean, you know, the leader of a party, even his name is false. He made that up himself.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's not even proud of his own name, his own birth. I mean, it's very sad to have a leader of a party. And I think very soon they'll have to, if they want to have any impact, get rid of him, because people on the doorstep. I had a Green Party guy canvassing me this weekend, and I mentioned Polanski. He said, well, that's the thing everyone mentions.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think they're all too aware of the fact the leader does more harm than to the Green cause, such as it is.
Well, they don't. They don't really talk about the Green cause.
To say that the Greens have had their most successful set of local elections in their history.
Yeah, but they've been going downhill since.
The polls, Andy Burnham has raked back some, and also Reform have dropped in some of the polls as well. We are looking to.
But don't you think quite a lot more information has come to light about Mr. Polanski, which he probably would have preferred that we didn't know?
Well, no, I disagree with that. I think
not paying his taxes on his houseboat for 4 years.
He was cleared of any wrongdoing there, to be fair. Right. He was cleared of any wrongdoing. A lot of these things were raised before the local elections. These questions were put to the country where Green Party candidates stood, and they spoke loudly in Hackney, in Haringey, in Waltham Forest, in boroughs across London, but also in other sort of like urban settings and university towns. There were people who heard it, and there were people who saw exactly what it was the unjust media scrutiny of Zach Polanski, when others in the political landscape get a free pass to do whatever.
Piers, when did you last go to Wetherspoons? Wetherspoons? Ah, yes. Well, I've got a very busy one near me in Tooting. But I'm very pleased. The admirable Sir Tim Martin has done something that many people would like, not just in Wetherspoons, but generally. He's said we're enough of mobile phones, people playing them on their speakers, music or video clips, annoying everyone around who just wants to go in for a drink and a plate of chips. Instead, they get a whole lot of drivel blared out at them. And he said he didn't want to drive people chicken jalfrezi, which of course is rhyming slang for crazy. And he actually said that in a statement. Top man. He's got a sense of humour. He runs a thriving business properly. He talks sense. And unlike Burnham, when he says he's going to do something, he does it straight away.
Do you go to Wetherspoons very often, Sam?
I go quite a bit, and look, I'm no fan. I'm no fan of Tim Martin, but it's my most conservative opinion to say that people having music and loudspeakers on public transport, in pubs, just generally anywhere is like. Honestly, I want to slap the phone out there.
Yeah, I agree.
But so many people agree with that, and yet still so many people do it.
Yeah, they do. He's really onto something.
I think, to be honest, if people want to listen to music, that's great, and there's a wider conversation to be had about the government with that, but also support local music venues. If you want to go and listen to some tunes, enjoy new music or whatever, then, you know, invest in local music venues. We've lost over nearly 20% in this country in the last couple of years alone. The government, if this is really, because this is actually a vote winner of a policy. If we actually, I mean, like, I say that only sort of joking. That I mean, like,
What you mean? You support an actual legal ban?
I don't know about like you can how it's enforceable. But
well, I think Louise Haigh will send a message through mobile phones to say don't use these with the speaker on and annoy people. That's be her next mobile alert.
That mobile alert was so ridiculous, wasn't it? We'll be back with our panel a little later, but first we're going to get a 60-second news update with Tatiana Sanchez.
Thank you very much. The top stories at 10:30. Prime Minister Andy Burnham is considering a rule change to block the early release of PC Andrew Harper's killers. Albert Bowers and Jesse Cole are set to be freed under the government's early prisoner release scheme, sparking outrage across the nation. In other news, a couple on their honeymoon has died alongside the pilot in a helicopter crash on the popular Greek tourist island of Sifnos. The private helicopter plunged to the ground near a helipad in the Tholos area around 6:17 p.m. local time yesterday, killing all 3 people on board. The UK has responded to Russia's threats following reports Ukraine is using British drones to carry out strikes against the country. A Ministry of Defence spokesperson said that Britain stands shoulder to shoulder with Ukraine and is committed to providing the equipment the country needs to defend itself. And the government is set to expand free bus travel for disabled people from April next year as part of the new Prime Minister's bid to ease the cost of living. The move will cost around £60 million, which Downing Street says will be funded from existing budgets. Those are your latest headlines for now. More from me at 11 o'clock.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB Digital Radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Well, coming up next, there are hundreds of cells empty in Britain's most expensive new prison. But we're still letting criminals out early. Find out why.
You couldn't make it up, could you? Honestly, what a shambles. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Good morning, welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. A cloudier day for many of us, outbreaks of rain to start. It will become a little bit drier into this afternoon and across the south and east it will stay rather warm. Elsewhere it's turned much cooler with northwesterlies moving in. Those will bring in showers to many northwestern areas through much of the day, but further south across parts of Wales and the Midlands it's going to brighten up into the afternoon. Slightly murkier weather pushes into the south and east by the end of today though, but it should remain dry across many southern areas. Still quite warm in the south, temperatures still climbing towards the higher 20s, 27 possible across the very far south and east. Into this evening, rain will become a little bit more persistent for more southern areas and showers continue across more northern areas. Some of these quite heavy actually across the far north of Scotland. You can see those brighter colours. That shows where we'll see the heavier rain. It will be showery, so not everyone's going to see that heavier rain. And across eastern areas of Scotland, it will stay largely dry through this evening and overnight, with the showers more focused across western areas, pushing into parts of northwestern England, North Wales too. A dry start to the night across the south, but that will change as the night goes on. An area of quite light rain but persistent will push across more southern and central areas of England and Wales, bringing most areas a little bit of water on the ground. It isn't going to last all that long as it does clear through by Wednesday, but further showers are on the way throughout Thursday. Fairly fresh night for more northern areas, still quite mild and humid across the very far south coast. But that fresher feel will become more widely felt throughout Wednesday as we're all into that fresher air by the middle of this week. That brings sunny spells and some outbreaks of quite heavy rain. Some of these showers you can see do bring a risk of thunderstorm, which means hail as well as lightning too. So you could see some quite heavy downpours, but some sunshine in between with temperatures much closer to average for this time of year. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News each and every week.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The A14 westbound is affected by a collision at junction 24A. The A31 is closed at junction 2 in Ringwood, and the M27 westbound is closed between junctions 10 and 9 in Whiteley. The M20 is closed between junctions 7 and 9 in Bearsted, while the M40 is closed between junctions 10 and 9 in Bicester. In Scotland, the M8 westbound has queuing and lane restrictions at junction 13 in between the slips. Across Wales, the A44 from Aberystwyth to Llanbadarn Far is closed, and on the trains, Greater Anglia services are facing major disruption between Shenfield and Southend Victoria. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
It is 22 minutes to 11. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Now, Britain's newest super prison, which cost the taxpayer £400 million, it's just outside of York, has literally hundreds of empty cells at a time when the government is letting out, in my view, very dangerous criminals. And they're empty because they can't recruit enough staff.
Well, HMP Millsike near York has space for 1,500 prisoners, but still has 350 cells left empty.
Let's talk to Andrea Coomer, who is the Chief Executive of the Howard League for Penal Reform. Andrea, this is despairing. We know there's a massive problem with prison overcrowding. The government are releasing prisoners that many people in the country think should stay behind bars. And here we've got a spanking new prison with 300 odd empty cells because of shortage of staff. How do they fix it?
Yeah. I mean, look, this is a prison that's had a very troubled beginning.
Yeah.
It's, already had a change in its governor and its director, and it is struggling to find people to be prison officers. Being prison officer is a very difficult role. There aren't many jobs where you can go to work and expect such a tense, stressful kind of job where you're subject potentially to violence. So it is not necessarily an attractive job. And we know across the country, the prison service is struggling to not just recruit people, but to retain people, having lost a lot of experienced prison officers in the last 10 years. So it's a struggle across the prison system, and I think calls into question a lot of the kind of plans the government has for building new prisons. Very easy potentially easy to build a new prison, quite difficult to find sustainable staffing to run that prison in a way that's effective.
And could I just ask you, what is the biggest drawback in recruiting prison officers, or maybe even retaining them, Andrea?
I mean, look, the job of a prison officer over the years has changed significantly. It used to be one that was very much a justice worker working with people to try to help them turn their lives around. And that's what most prison officers want to do. They want to be able to help people to return to the community in a way that is safe. I think that job has changed a lot, particularly since COVID. It's very often now a job of just locking people up in their cells, which is not necessarily terribly rewarding work. So at a prison like Millsike, the Independent Monitoring Board last year reported that across the prison, a lot of people were locked up for 23 hours of a day in their cell with nothing to do. And being a prison officer overseeing that is not necessarily an attractive kind of role. That's obviously not good for the men who are held in Millsike either, because all of these people are returning to the community. This is meant to be a training and resettlement prison where people go to build up those final skills to return to the community in a pro-social, safe manner. And when they're just banged up in their cells for 23 hours with high levels of violence, high levels of drugs, they're not being set up to succeed when they get released.
And what about, though, the violence that prison officers face? Because we're hearing that even in Millsike, which is this brand new prison with excellent facilities, state-of-the-art design, prison officers are still having to go around in pairs because of the threat of assault from prisoners and drugs already in the prison. You can see why people are put off from entering that environment, especially when prison officers' pay is not that generous.
No, I mean, look, that's true across the estate. But what we know about prisons that are violent is they're invariably the prisons which have the least amount of meaningful things for people to do. So the people locked up in that jail are frustrated, they're despairing, and when they do get out, they then act out in a way that is entirely unacceptable. So you won't hear apologies from me for it. But it's, you look at another prison. So there's a prison outside Wolverhampton called Oakwood that similarly is a private prison. It's the biggest prison in the country. It has very, very low levels of violence because the men are out and about all day. They're doing meaningful things. They're building up their skill sets. They're building up their self-esteem. And they are held in an environment that is safe and decent. Compared that to Millsike, where people are locked up in their cells for 23 hours a day. I mean, the government's own drugs policy for prisons shows, the key part of that is that, you need to stop the demand for drugs. And demand for drugs is driven by boredom and frustration when people have nothing meaningful to do with their time. times.
I mean, is that really true, Andrew? I mean, I don't think many of our viewers would disagree that it is helpful for prisoners to have meaningful work and labour to do in prison and to learn skills. But I mean, surely that prisoners will obtain drugs when they're available, whether or not they're bored.
No, not necessarily. I mean, if you look across the system, those prisons that have the most amount of time out of cell for people to do meaningful things are the ones that have the lowest rates of drug testing, positive drug testing. It's prisons where people are in either poor conditions, so that, you know, which is not the case at Millsike. This is a brand new prison, so it's not a question of people being held in indecent conditions, which is the case in some other places and does drive people to drugs. In this case, I think it's driven by the fact that people have got nothing to do. You know, if you're in your cell for 23 hours a day, what are you going to do? And that drives drugs, it drives debt, which drives a lot of violence in prisons. So it makes these unstable environments. And then that, of course, becomes a cycle of despair for staff as well as for the men who are in their care, because nobody wants to be there and nobody wants to work there. And that's the trouble that Millsike now has.
Let's ask you very briefly, Andrea, this casual assumption that there will be drugs in prisons. How did we get to that point? Why are there drugs in prisons? Full stop.
I completely agree. It is outrageous that prisons as a workplace for people have become a kind of accepted thing, part of the culture. And I know of at least one London jail where the governor last year announced to her staff that that her prison was going to be a drug-free prison. And I think to some kind of shock from people, because there is that level of acceptance that drugs are going to be there. But we do have prisons across the estate that have lower rates of drugs. And it is possible, because I hear from our members who are in prison who are really unsettled by drones and drugs. You know, drugs drive unstable behaviour, they drive violence, they drive the kind of instability that makes prisons a difficult place to live as well as to work. So it's not a question of every prisoner in this country really wanting drugs. They don't. You know, they do lasting harm to actual prison wings and to people's ability to kind of turn their lives around. But you need, the government's own strategy, as I've said, has as a key part of the drugs in prison strategy is to stop people wanting drugs. And I think we spend a lot of time talking about drones and ways of stopping drugs getting in, and not enough time talking about what stops people wanting the drugs in the first place, which is really where we need to be if we're going to have prisons as places where people can effectively turn their lives around.
Well, Andrea Coomber, thank you so much for joining us this morning. That's Andrea Coomber from the Howard League for Penal Reform. Now,
it is fascinating, isn't it? I mean, because for years now there has just been this casual assumption that drugs have been rampant in prisons. How did it get to that point?
I know, it's extraordinary. Well, surely just some nets over the top of the prison would do the job.
Yeah, because it's all the drones
We're
are flying
being told
in.
that we have to do your favourite thing, which is to read the rights.
Miriam loves to read them.
What would you do without me, Andrew? A Ministry of Justice...
I put my glasses on.
The Ministry of Justice spokesperson said, "We are working at pace to bring every available prison place online and have always been clear that new prisons require a ramp-up period to ensure that they remain safe, secure and protect the public." And a MITI spokesperson said, HMP Millsike continues to operate in line with the ramp-up plans agreed with the MOJ, with staffing and recruitment aligned to the prison's phased population build-up. We remain focused on maintaining a safe, secure and supportive environment for prisoners and colleagues.
And no acknowledgement that our sparkling new prison hasn't got any staff.
Indeed. So your reticence to read these is more practical than philosophical.
No, because I'm going to start just snorting with derision, aren't I?
Anyway, our director is now snorting with derision.
They're so ridiculous, these statements, and they bear no resemblance to the story we're talking about quite often.
But legally, it's very important. Coming up next, the King has travelled over 500 miles, that reminds me of a song, to Balmoral Castle to enjoy a royal summer break. We will be at the scene with Cameron Walker shortly.
We certainly will be. This is Britain's Newsroom.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there. Still plenty of dry and sunny weather across much of Europe. Thunderstorms, though, will start to break out across parts of northern Italy and the Alps through the end of this week. Through Wednesday, though, high pressure's generally in charge. So much of Spain and Portugal seeing dry weather with temperatures in the high 20s, low 30s. You can see that outbreaks of rain starting to develop across northern areas of Italy there. That's signs of things to come. Severe thunderstorms through Thursday and Friday for a time. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
I remember it vividly, the first dogfight over Biggin Hill, over New Eddington. And this particular morning, the war started. My mother had asked me to go and get her a pint of beer from she wasn't a drunkard or anything, but she liked to drink on a Sunday morning. So she said, well, son, she said, go down and get me a bottle of beer, will you? I mean, all was quiet in the Western Front. So I said, yes, Mum. So I'm going down the road now. I hadn't gone quarter of a mile, and all of a sudden there's this confusion, all this noise and that, zooming and banging. I thought, what on earth's that? And I looked up, and there they were, dogfighting over New Eddington.
GB News, the People's Channel. Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Joining us now is Head of Advocacy at Big Brother Watch, Jack Colson. Jack, interested to know your view on this. You know, why shouldn't I be able to wear my Meta glasses around?
Well, certainly there are times and places where Meta glasses might be of use, particularly for those with visual impairments. The technology really could be a breakthrough, but we see these as the tip of an iceberg. Meta's glasses have already been potentially linked to facial recognition technology, which really would be a stalker's charter. And we are operating in an environment where perpetrators of harassment feel safe to use this technology when really it's the public who ought to feel safe. So the government ultimately are going to have to explore restrictions on this kind of technology, and we're seeing civil society push back.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I have a real treat for you, because I have found women. Yes, and these women are badly behaved in Benidorm, and they've been here for, how long have you been here?
Since Tuesday.
Yeah, just a week this time. Normally we do 2 weeks, but just a week this time.
And whereabouts in the UK are you from?
From Surrey.
Surrey. Manchester. Salford.
Doncaster.
Quite the mix, I would say. Are you getting ready to go into the Strip?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, why not? It's iconic.
We do culture first and then the Strip. That's the right way round, right?
If you say so. Will you be out on the Strip?
Most definitely, yet again.
And what's so attractive about it?
The Strip or the culture?
The Strip.
What am I allowed to say on TV?
GB News, the People's Channel.
Nine minutes to 11. You're watching and listening to Britain's News in 1GB News. You had your glasses on then.
I did. I don't need to wear them all the time, but sometimes they ache a bit, my eyes, so I wear them. Now, we're going to Scotland because the King and Queen Camilla, are on holiday in Balmoral, where they go every summer. Same place every year.
I know, I'd get bored of that.
I think I would.
If I had a castle, I might think differently.
Yeah, and they love the countryside, don't they? I mean, they're very happy there. You can't see them on a beach in Benidorm with Doogie, can you really? You see Queen Camilla on a beach in Benidorm.
Who knows? Maybe
there's a picture in the papers today wearing
mechanical
jeans.
Ball. Right, OK.
Well,
let's go quickly to Cameron Walker, who's in Balmoral, and I'm sure he's going to reassure us that the King is not wearing jeans. Cameron's disappeared.
No, he certainly isn't wearing jeans, Miriam. However, the Queen was yesterday, Miriam. She was out shopping in Balliser, which is the local town next to Balmoral, with her sister, Annabelle Elliott. But the King, later on this morning, very shortly actually, will be arriving for his ceremonial welcome outside the gates of Balmoral Castle. What you should be seeing on your screens for you watching on television is the Guard of Honour formed by the Balaclava Company, 5th Battalion Royal Regiment of Scotland. There's also a new addition for the first time in almost 100 years at the gates of Balmoral. You may be able to see 2 Balmoral Highlanders with their log bar axes. They were discontinued in 1936 by the King's great-grandfather, George V, but he's decided to bring them back. And to the left, of course, we've got a naughty pony, Cruachan IV, which was very naughty, once tried to eat the late Queen's flowers and once weed in front of the Queen. So let's see if he plays up in front of the King later on today. We've got a crowd of people here as well, and of course the pipes and drums will be accompanying the Royal Regiment of Scotland during the ceremonial welcome very, very shortly. Andrew and Miriam.
Oh, very nice.
No. And sun in Scotland. Maybe it is a good holiday destination.
It was sunny when I was in Edinburgh too, although it was raining when I arrived, but not very much. It was raining in London last night.
No.
Shock horror. There was a puddle outside my front door garden.
Goodness. I did look at the grey sky this morning and think, what's that? Do you have lots of people greeting you when you arrive on holiday, Andrew?
No. No. But I think Scotland's a lovely place to go on holiday, actually. I think it's a fantastic country. You can do the cities or you do the countryside.
Yeah,
brilliant.
Absolutely stunning, the Highlands as well. Well, plenty more to come. You're watching Britain's Newsroom, Britain's favourite morning show, only on GB News.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning, welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. A cloudier day for many of us, outbreaks of rain to start. It will become a little bit drier into this afternoon, and across the south and east it will stay rather warm. Elsewhere it's turned much cooler with northwesterlies moving in. Those will bring in showers to many northwestern areas through much of the day, but further south across parts of Wales and the Midlands it's going to brighten up into the afternoon. Slightly murkier weather pushes into the south and east by the end of today though, but it should remain dry across many southern areas. Still quite warm in the south, temperatures still climbing towards the higher 20s, 27 possible across the very far south and east. Into this evening, rain will become a little bit more persistent for more southern areas and showers continue across more northern areas. Some of these quite heavy actually across the far north of Scotland. You can see those brighter colours. That shows where we'll see the heavier rain. It will be showery, so not everyone's going to see that heavier rain. And across eastern areas of Scotland, it will stay largely dry through this evening and overnight, with the showers more focused across western areas, pushing into parts of northwestern England, North Wales too. A dry start to the night across the south, but that will change as the night goes on. An area of quite light rain but persistent will push across more southern and central areas of England and Wales, bringing most areas a little bit of water on the ground. It isn't going to last all that long as it does clear through by Wednesday, but further showers are on the way throughout Thursday. Fairly fresh night for more northern areas, still quite mild and humid across the very far south coast. But that fresher feel will become more widely felt throughout Wednesday as we're all into that fresher air by the middle of this week. That brings sunny spells and some outbreaks of quite heavy rain. Some of these showers you can see do bring a risk of thunderstorm, which means hail as well as lightning too. So you could see some quite heavy downpours, but some sunshine in between, with temperatures much closer to average for this time of year. Bye-bye.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could win over £65,000 in prizes. You could be our latest Great British Giveaway winner. First of all, we want to give you £60,000 in tax-free cash, plus you'll also receive a fine gold bar worth over £5,000.
For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way.
You will not want to miss it, trust me. The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel. As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
It's 11 o'clock on Tuesday, the 18th of August. This is Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cakes.
Well, are children fixated on violence? This morning, the Children's Commissioner warns young people are being intoxicated by extremism on social media.
Moscow is vowing revenge. Russia says the United Kingdom will pay heavily for supplying drones to Ukraine.
Elsewhere today, ministers consider attempting a type of manslaughter offence from the early release scheme to keep PC Harper's killers behind bars.
And it's summer holiday times for the King and Queen. They're marking the start of the summer break with a special ceremony in Balmoral. The local Conservative MP Andrew Bowie says they're great for business.
Commitment and the passion he shows to local projects, local economy, the money that he himself has invested in businesses, in road infrastructure up here.
And we're going up to North Yorkshire to celebrate just one of Britain's many iconic castles.
We're here at Castle Bolton in North Yorkshire, Bolton Castle, where there's over 600 years of history, and we're ready for battle.
Very good, Anna. Heatwave hell, farmers are telling GB News that they're living through the worst harvest of their lifetimes.
Yeah, well, farmers' revenue could be down more than £500 million because of the consecutive heat waves and poor weather. We're on a farm in Lincolnshire finding out exactly what the impact has been.
And turn it off. Weatherspoons ban playing music or taking calls on phone loudspeakers after drinkers complained they were driven nuts by the noise.
It's a big problem, this drought with farmers, because wheat, corn, all these yields are down massively.
Yeah.
Massively.
We had a dairy farmer on last week, didn't we? He was telling us that milk yields in July were down 18 billion litres.
Yeah.
Well, that's a huge amount of produce because
yeah.
the cows just don't produce the same amount of milk in the heat and with less water.
It means we're going to have to import more, which is more expensive, and then we can end up potentially even food shortages.
Yeah.
That's a problem, I'm afraid.
It is. Well, we do need to get our water supplies sorted out because it does seem like we're going to have more and more of these long, hot summers. And we get so much rainfall in the winter. If our water storage was better, if our soil health was better, we probably would have a fighting chance of doing OK during the summer.
As ever, we'd like to know what you think. Send your views, post your comments by visiting
gbnews.com/your say. But first, here's the news with Tatiana Sanchez.
Thank you very much and good morning. The top stories. Prime Minister Andy Burnham is considering a rule change to block the early release of PC Andrew Harper's killers. Albert Bowers and Jesse Cole are set to be freed under the government's early release scheme, sparking outrage across the nation. In an attempt to prevent the pair from being freed, ministers are reportedly willing to introduce an exemption that would stop those convicted of a certain type of manslaughter from being automatically released. The specification surrounds those who committed an unlawful act of manslaughter.
None of us want to see these people released early. We all understand why it would have such a devastating impact on PC Andrew Harper's family. And that's why the Prime Minister has been so determined to do something about it and has charged the Justice Secretary with finding a solution. I'm not going to speculate on what that solution is, but I'm confident that our Justice Secretary, Alex Norris, will come up with a solution.
The UK has responded to Russia's threats following reports Ukraine is using British drones to carry out strikes against the country. A Ministry of Defence spokesperson said Britain stands shoulder to shoulder with Ukraine and is committed to providing the equipment the country needs to defend itself. Built by two separate British companies, the drones in question have been used inside Russia in widespread and successful targeting of military and industrial targets, including refineries and warehouses of the online retailer Wildberries. In a statement from the Russian embassy to the UK on Monday, they warned London's actions will carry consequences. A young British couple on their honeymoon have died alongside the pilot in a helicopter crash on the popular Greek tourist island of Sifnos. They've been named as Alexander Cromie and Marie Ebert. The private helicopter plunged to the ground near a helipad in the Tholos area around 6:17 p.m. local time yesterday, killing all three people on board, according to the Greek fire service. The couple had reportedly travelled from England to Greece for their honeymoon and were being flown by a private air taxi company. An investigation is underway to determine the cause of the crash. Elsewhere, a man has been charged with manslaughter over the death of a man who was bitten by a dog on a footpath. West Yorkshire police officers were called to reports of an altercation on the old train line footpath off Blacker Lane in the Calder Grove area of Wakefield on Saturday afternoon. The force said a 55-year-old man was bitten by a dog during that altercation and later died in hospital. 55-year-old Lee Ellis has been remanded in custody and is due to appear in court today. A German Shepherd thought to have been involved has been seized by police. Elsewhere, the number of job vacancies has fallen to its lowest level in more than 5 years as smaller businesses cut back on recruitment, the latest official figures indicate. Vacancy numbers dipped slightly over the May to July period to 707,000, according to the ONS, which said small firms were citing labour and operating costs as reasons for scaling back hiring. The ONS said the labour market was little changed overall, with the unemployment rate remaining at 4.9%. And growth in regular earnings, which excludes bonuses, picked up slightly, rising at an annual pace of 3.5% in the 3 months to June. The government is set to expand free bus travel for disabled people from April next year as part of the new Prime Minister's bid to ease the cost of living. The time restrictions for eligible disabled people will be lifted on their bus passes so they can travel all day, every day for free. Currently, disabled bus passes are valid for travel only on weekdays from 9:30 a.m. to 11 p.m. unless local authorities fund an extension. The move will cost £60 million, which Downing Street says will be funded from existing budgets. And in the opening day of the US rapper Tupac Shakur's murder trial, prosecutors painted former gang leader Dwayne Davis as someone seeking revenge before masterminding the drive-by shooting that killed him. Witnesses took a Las Vegas jury back in time 3 decades ago to the night Shakur was shot, when gangs had a hold over 90s hip-hop and distrust in police led to a lack of cooperation and one of the most famous cold cases of the last century. 63-year-old Davis is charged with Shakur's murder. Prosecutors allege that although Davis didn't fire the gun that killed Tupac Shakur, but he allegedly orchestrated the killing. Davis denied the allegations and pleaded not guilty. Those are the latest headlines. Here's the finance.
Taking the ups and downs in our stride. Stilts Home Lifts sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
The pound will buy you $1.35 and 1.17 euros. The price of gold, £3,246 per ounce. And the FTSE 100 is at 10,706 points.
GB News Finance Report, brought to you by Stilts Home Lifts.
Hello, good morning. Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom. We're live across the United Kingdom on GB News with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Well, the Conservatives are pledging to launch a crackdown on illegal traveller sites.
They say communities were being forced to tolerate illegal encampments and breaches of planning laws, as well as antisocial behaviour and petty crime by a small minority of travellers.
Well, let's talk to the leader of Waverley, leader of Waverley Conservative Council Group, Councillor Jane Austen. Jane, Councillor Austen, good morning to you. How big an issue in your area?
It's a massive issue, actually. I would say it's one of the top issues. We have the issue with this is it's a planning problem. We have hundreds in Waverley. We have the 6th highest number of unauthorised traveller sites in the country. That's 149. And the problem is that
149 sites.
We have that's just unauthorised sites.
Good Lord.
And that's up from 7 in 2023. So that's an indication of the fact that the planning law actually is being abused by a minority of people. And we live in a rural area, and my residents, they're afraid that the field that they went to sleep looking at, they wake up the next morning and they're going to find a traveller site on there. And the problem is that our planning system at the moment is just completely vulnerable to this, because there are not the safeguards in place to protect residents or the land that we all want to protect.
And I think sometimes people think about traveller sites as temporary camps and then the travellers move on. But actually, I think what you've seen in your area is sometimes they can become semi-permanent, putting down hardcore and utilities, often overnight, and then applying for planning permission retrospectively. So would the Conservatives ditch that the retrospective allowance?
Yeah, so that's the really important progress that the Conservative Party is pushing forward. Labour, we've seen over the weekend, new planning reforms, a very soft-touch approach to this. What we need is decisive action. We need prevention of people being incentivised to do this in the first place. So if you know that under a Conservative government, a site like this, you're not going to get retrospective planning permission for it, then that disincentivises the whole process from happening in the first place.
And how does a council physically kick travellers off an illegal encampment? How do they do it?
Well, so this is the issue. It feels like a two-tier system to the residents that I represent, because even if someone goes onto a piece of land, then retrospectively applies for planning permission, it can take months, even years, for the planning process to take effect. So you have if it does at all, in fact. So you have a system where there are, it's 3 months to get an appeal, and then it's the planning permission rejected, then another year to get an appeal, and then in order to rectify the site, lift the aggregate, move the things off site, that often has to be done at the council's expense. Yeah. So it's the taxpayer who ends up paying.
Councils are supposed to, under the law, provide available sites for travellers that are suitable and have planning permission.
Yeah.
Are there enough of those sites? And if not, would you support the creation of more?
I think there is an issue nationally, and of course we must make sure that the planning system allows for an appropriate number of sites. But in my particular area, it shows that the system is not working. We have an up-to-date traveller assessment. It's only a few months old. It identifies we've already met the need in our area, and yet we still have the 6th highest number of unauthorised sites in the country.
So essentially the travellers are moving to unsuitable sites, even though there are places available in designated areas?
Well, across the country there are, but you have to question whether... most of the top 6, they're all in the southeast. You have to question whether actually it is genuine traveller need, or in sometimes we're seeing evidence that units are being sublet for profit.
And how disruptive are these traveller camps for your local residents?
Well, I can't overstate how devastating it is for these people. They've often moved away from an urban area, and they go to bed one night, it's a field, the following morning they wake up and they are next to this protected area in many cases, aggregated over, and it's just done flagrantly in breach of the law. And then you have they go and ask for planning permission for a dormer window or a side extension. It's refused, so they don't do it, and it just is enraging people that why on earth could this be the case? It just seems so unfair.
And James Cleverly, the Shadow Housing Secretary, was implying yesterday that one of the reasons for that disparity or two-tier system is that travellers are able to use the Equality Act, the protected characteristic, if you like, of being a traveller, to overcome some of the restrictions that apply for people without that protected characteristic.
Yes, and well, that is an issue, and that is why the Conservatives are pushing, part of the reason, to leave the ECHR, because it gives us more freedoms to do that. We do know, I mean, the Housing Minister has confirmed that the number of appeals on traveller sites allowed is higher on traveller sites than normal sites, though that is evidence of a two-tier system in place.
And of course, you heard the Prime Minister on this station just a week or two ago saying that middle-class areas, presumably like where you are, have got to take more than their fair share of illegal migrants, so perhaps they're going to join you with the illegal traveller camps.
Well, the issue is, of course, when you have traveller sites and there is evidence that there is subletting going on, you don't know who those sublettings are happening to.
Right.
So, that's the problem.
Well, Councillor Jane Austen, thank you so much for coming on Britain's Newsroom this morning. It's great to see you again. Well, Waverley Borough Council says that it actively investigates and takes legal action against unauthorised developments and caravan sites.
Now it's time for the Great British Giveaway. Just 3 days now to grab your chance to win £60,000 cash and a gold bar and our Golden Summer celebration. Here's how you do it.
Welcome to Orla Santi by Domes Resorts. There's just 2 days left to see how you can win big in our Golden Summer celebration. And you could be enjoying a golden year with an incredible £60,000 to be won. That's tax-free cash that you'll get to spend on anything you like. What would you do with it? You could relax knowing that we've got those day-to-day financial pressures sorted. Or find yourself celebrating in the lap of five-star luxury, somewhere like here, the Spritzeria. Plus, we'll give you a fine gold bullion bar worth over £5,000 that you can keep or gift to a loved one. Make sure you don't miss out as lines close on Friday.
For a chance to win £60,000 in tax-free cash and a real gold bar, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, good luck with that. Coming up next, the Children's Commissioner warns that young people are being intoxicated by extremism on social media. So how do we stop kids' fixation with violence?
We're going through that and more with Samuel Sweek and Piers Pottinger, our panel this morning. There they are. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Britain is not just a geographical expression. We are a people bound together by history and culture that are distinctively British. Join me to celebrate our music, theatre, artworks and literature, which we can explore and enjoy together.
Everybody's welcome.
Sunday with Michael Portillo, every Sunday at 11 a.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's coming up to 20 past 11. You're watching Britain's Newsroom. We're live across the United Kingdom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
And we've got our panel with us now, the political commentator Piers Pottinger and Samuel Sweet, who are in the studio. Now, gentlemen, you want to talk about social media, don't you?
Yeah, no, we, as you can see, the Children's Commissioner is like some serious
This is Rachel
concern.
D'Souza, yeah. She's saying they're being indoctrinated almost by violence and bad things.
Well, yeah, I think as you know, time has gone on. Children are obviously. I mean, I have a 12 and a 10-year-old. They're just coming up to the age now where phones and social media and online gaming is becoming part of their life. And as a parent, as I'm sure it's shared, but by many across the country, is a huge concern that the access that children have to misinformation, to violence, and also the access that other people who may not have the best intentions towards children have to potentially access those.
I mean,
children.
she's saying in this report, Rachel D'Souza, that children are being fixated by violence and intoxicated by extremism. It's a deadly combination.
Yeah, it's a huge concern, Andrew. Yeah. And,
how do you restrict? Do you restrict what your children are looking at? Do you know what they're looking at?
I try and do my best with that. My son has a phone which conks on and off at certain times of the day, and obviously I do check in with what's going on, but there's only so much you can do as a parent without restricting the freedoms that you want your children to, because you want them to enjoy. You don't want to put the fear of anything too bad into them whilst wanting them to be careful. It's a very sort of delicate balancing act.
Yeah.
But I would like to see the government take this very seriously. I would like the social media companies and the tech companies to be reined in further. The fact that there isn't a legal responsibility or an individual at any of these companies to ensure that children are kept safe is a disgrace and is something that needs to change immediately.
I totally agree. And I mean, one of the problems is that all these tech companies and these social media companies use the freedom of speech arguments to not restrict things. And that's a disgrace. I mean, if they're producing content, for example, a newspaper, no editor would allow some of the content, or a huge amount of it, anywhere near their paper.
Or this TV station.
Or on mainstream television, absolutely. Yeah. And what should happen is these companies, and I have an involvement with a couple of tech companies, and I was involved in talking to some of the big ones, social media companies, about stopping online abuse. And they really, quite frankly, just refused to cooperate when they could sort it out at a stroke. This is something that could be done immediately by these companies if they so wished. And the fact that they don't is absolutely shocking. And in my view, they should be penalised very hard for it. And they should be threatened with something like, as Sam and I were talking earlier, Sam mentioned that there was a thought at one point of charging these companies 10% of their turnover.
Well, that is in the Online Safety Act, as is criminal director liability. So, in theory, the directors of these companies could be put in jail for continually refusing.
But it never happens, Miriam.
Exactly, because Ofcom, the regulator, unfortunately, waters these things down and frankly, chickens out. I don't think they're doing
And
their
then,
job
of
properly.
course, these companies, and they've got the resources,
And the lawyers,
something in court for years.
Well, I mean,
no, there needs to be, if there needs to be new legislation and a new body to deal with it, then let's do that. But actually, it's the companies themselves who are the wrong uns here, and they should actually be more accountable for this.
And Sam, I think the reason they're not is because they're making so much money the way it is.
Well, cash is king, isn't it?
Yes.
But, I mean, follow the money, Andrew. Look at how many MPs, how many people in the cabinet have received donations from companies like Google, like Meta, who this would directly, these cases like this would directly implicate. If we brought in a law where somebody was responsible ultimately, which has been sort of proposed by the government, has been kicked
No, it's been enacted. I mean, I put down that amendment in the last Parliament. I put down that amendment to criminalise directors who refuse to take their child duties seriously. It was passed. It was the government accepted the amendment because we had support from both sides of the House. The government had no choice but to capitulate. It's there in law, but Ofcom don't use it, and that's the problem.
Well, they ought to. They ought to be absolutely.
And I don't think the problem is MPs being
compelled to.
Well, it's complicated because the problem... I don't think it is the problem that MPs personally are compromised somehow. I think the problem is that both the Department for Technology and Ofcom are essentially revolving doors with the tech companies. People work for Ofcom, then they go and work for Google. Yeah. Nobody's incentivised to regulate these companies properly because they want a job there.
Well, there we are. We should all be supporting Miriam's law.
Yeah.
Quite seriously.
I
mean, it is something that
they're on the statute.
we should
the problem with this is that it's not just the tech companies. There is an argument that's very prevalent on the right of politics that this is about freedom and that somehow allowing children to see violence and extreme sexual abuse, and if we crack down on that, then somehow we'll be invading adults' privacy. And I don't think previous generations saw it like that. I think there's a difference between obscenity and freedom, and I think we've kind of forgotten that.
There is and also children are children. And I'm all for freedom of speech, and I'd passionately defend it. And, I'm Toby Young and co, I'm right behind. But I'm sure even they would have to agree that vulnerable children need to be protected. Yeah. And showing them horrific things actually leading, in some cases, to real abuse. These things need to be stopped. And when they can be stopped so easily, they should be. So let's get behind Miriam's law.
Very good idea.
Thank you, Piers.
Yes, absolutely. Now, we've got, yet again, on the front pages, is the story about PC Andrew Harper.
We'll come on to that in a sec. We just need to read it's your favourite time of the show, Andrew.
Yeah.
We need to read this right of reply from the government. We are committed to ensuring all children are safe from radicalisation, and Prevent plays a crucial role in this, moving more than 6,000 people away from violent ideologies since 2015.
Well, they're not doing enough, are they? I think they're frightened of these online companies. PC Harper, on the front pages again, the Prime Minister has told the hapless Justice Secretary he's got to find a way to stop Harper's killers, two of them, coming out of prison early. So they're going to look at certain types of manslaughter. It's
a complicated one.
I don't think it is. I don't think it is. I don't think you should ever let emergent killers of police officers out of prison early.
I think particularly... Well, no, in this case, I agree with you. I mean, but there's a wider conversation to be had about the early release scheme and letting non-violent offenders out of prison. That is absolutely right. The government should take that on a case-by-case basis. They need to look at this case with PC Andrew Harper's killers. And in my opinion, the answer should be that they are not fit to be released. This has only been a couple of years. And also, the shocking violence of that crime obviously still left and will always leave massive scars on PC Harper's family. But the wider conversation about releasing non-violent offenders from prison is a very, very important one. And the spirit of that in the government's proposal is correct.
But they should. I mean, this is a shambles created by Andy Burnham.
Yeah, I'm afraid it is.
One of his, I'll sort this out tonight. And he couldn't because he hadn't thought through the thing properly. And it is more complicated. Also, I think we have to be very careful about saying one individual's life is worth more than someone else's. And, for example, what about a postman doing his duty is killed? Is that less serious than a policeman? I can understand the police getting very, very worked up themselves because one of their own is always much worse, and it's very hard for them. But individuals' lives are equally as valuable.
But there is a deterrent function, though, isn't there? Because our police are not armed.
No.
And so we need to make sure that people are not resisting arrest.
Yes.
And so actually it does make sense that there are stricter penalties for
prison sentences should mean prison sentences.
Well, that is also true.
And I mean, I agree with you, but I mean, if you're going to punish someone for doing something as serious as manslaughter or any kind of violent attack against anyone, they should serve their sentence and know they're going to get that. That is a real deterrent.
Is that how they get all manslaughter, no early release?
Well, look, I mean, manslaughter is not murder for a very specific reason. It needs to be looked at on a case-for-case basis, and and the victim impact also has to be considered there, I think. Yeah, but I mean, to Piers' point, I think Andy Burnham coming in and making this announcement without the scrutiny means that we're able to ask these questions. People obviously very upset and hurt by this, but the scrutiny has just not been there.
The communications around this has been as bad as under Keir Starmer, because we had just a couple of weeks ago Number 10 briefing officially saying on the record that these guys would be coming out early.
Yeah.
And then the next day the Prime Minister contradicted Number 10.
Absolutely, but they're in a mess.
Yeah.
I mean, for example, yesterday I saw Angela Rayner saying to someone, a group of people who have been affected by the wildfires, saying we're going to do all we can to help you. So one of them said, and what's that then?
Yeah.
And she had no answer to it. Because, I mean, making these stupid land statements, these are not...
Whatever it takes.
These people are secretaries of state. This is our government. They should be cautious about what they say and actually think before they speak.
Yeah. And you see, Burnham is the opposite of Starmer, because the criticism of Starmer was he was so process-led and a lawyer more than a leader. You would never have got Burnham, Starmer saying, I'll get these guys who will not be coming out of prison early. He just wouldn't have said
Well, no, I mean, fair play to Starmer there. I don't think we would be in this situation. But once again, we're in the recess, and, you know, the government should not be making these sweeping sort of policy announcements where there is not scrutiny.
Absolutely right.
Burnham could be, though, setting out his stall for an early general election. That's
I've always
theory.
said he's going to do that.
I think he's going to do it. I think he's going to do it.
Do you think this year or in May?
I think he'll announce it at the conference.
Right.
Because don't forget, he's apparently got a 10-year plan.
Yes, he has.
That's why I call him Baldrick. He's got a cunning plan.
Yeah,
and I should think it'll be about as useful as Baldrick's plans.
A 10-year plan would be, it sounds like a manifesto for two parliaments.
And do you think Polanski and the Green Party would be ready for a general election?
Yeah, I think they've been ready for a while. I think that the Labour Party should be worried.
You think they would nick a lot of votes?
I think we would lose people like David Lammy in Parliament. Yeah, I think that the
think David Lammy
look where the Greens swept
every cloud.
Look where the Greens swept inner city London, including Tottenham. Now has a Green majority. Greens are, I think, one council away from having the majority on there. The vote share is hugely swayed that way, and I think that David Lammy has been, he has been the poster boy for genocide in Gaza and Labour's involvement in supporting that, and I think that is where he will be punished.
I think he would deny that, of course. The Greens just going to bang on about Gaza the whole time? Are they going to actually talk about?
They don't,
because there is a bit of a crisis going on.
This is the United Kingdom, by the way.
Yeah,
this is the United Kingdom.
Well, I mean, they've been, to be fair, trying to hold Andy Burnham to account on his announcement on Rosebank and Jackdaw, which obviously, there's a story somewhere about Burnham and the optics of not announcing more drilling, which is just nonsense. You're either going to do it or you're not.
He's delaying a decision until September, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, this is, again, they're terrified of their own backbenchers, so they're going to delay and delay. Meanwhile, energy investment in this country is going away.
Yeah.
BP are pulling out.
They are.
I mean, has the man got no idea about simple, basic economics?
Well,
I don't think he does.
Well, that's why I think he will go for an early generation, to get rid of the backbenchers.
Yes, because
That
there's
would actually be quite
so many
helpful
of
to
them.
him.
He's
Yeah.
got a majority
Yeah.
of 170, which doesn't
The
help
more,
him.
the merrier.
Yeah. Fascinating. Gentlemen, thank you very much. We're going to get our 60-second news update now with Tatiana Sanchez.
Thank you very much. The top stories breaking this hour. A man has been charged with misconduct in a public office after information was allegedly released about a number of addresses in a market town which were later targeted during several nights of disorder. James Jobson appeared before Ipswich Magistrates Court on Monday, charged with misconduct in a public office. The 62-year-old was remanded in custody to appear at Norwich Crown Court on the 14th of September. Prime Minister Andy Burnham is considering a rule change to block the early release of PC Andrew Harper's killers. Albert Bowers and Jesse Cole are set to be freed under the government's early release scheme, sparking outrage across the nation. A young British couple on their honeymoon has died alongside the pilot in a helicopter crash on the popular Greek tourist island of Sifnos. The private helicopter plunged to the ground near a helipad in the Tholos area around 6:17 p.m. local time, killing all 3 people on board. And the UK has responded to Russia's threats following reports Ukraine is using British drones to carry out strikes against the country. A Ministry of Defence spokesperson said that Britain stands shoulder to shoulder with Ukraine and is committed to providing the equipment the country needs to defend itself. Those are the latest headlines for now. More from me at midday.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Oh, coming up at noon, we've got Good Afternoon Britain with Mark and Emily. They're here in the studio. What's coming up?
Good morning.
Good morning. Just about, it is, yeah.
Well, on Good Afternoon Britain, we've got a lot to discuss. I don't know if you've seen, but the eco-tycoon Dale Vince, now Labour Party backer, has decided to do a complete 180 on support for oil and gas drilling. So yes, he's decided that now it's a good idea to open up these. It's the Rosebank and the other one's called Jackdaw. So he's all go ahead with that.
And is it perhaps indicative of the mindset of the Prime Minister? Does he know something that we
think
don't?
He does.
But it's, listen, it's to be welcomed. If
I agree.
You know, someone who was fiercely opposed to this is now coming around and saying it just doesn't make sense, given that we will need oil and gas to be importing it thousands of miles with all of the impact that that will have on the climate.
Yeah, he actually made sense. But he was a massive backer of Just Stop Oil back in the day.
He was. And I wonder if that's another reason why we saw Ed Miliband moved out of the Climate Change Department to Foreign Secretary, get him out in the world stage, get him away.
Miata Fambul is probably easier to manipulate.
I mean, she's his disciple, but she's very inexperienced.
Yes, but to have him as our representative on the international stage.
There is that. Well, we did have David Lammy as well.
Oh, my God,
So anything's
We've
an
had a
improvement.
beautiful
reminded
selection.
me.
But also we're going to be talking about Pakistan, because apparently they're saying they're going to refuse to take any illegal migrants back if we push ahead with trying to force them to take this grooming gang leader back. So we've got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, stop the visas. 162,000 visas we issue to Pakistanis every year. Stop it.
Stop the lot.
Yeah, if you won't take your offenders back, your nerdy wells, then fine.
And stop the benefits as well, 138 million.
Wow.
Yes,
Why are we giving them any money?
It's going to be an exciting show. It's coming up at midday, but up next, we'll be hearing from farmers who say they've had their worst harvest ever this year.
Yeah, the production of key crops in the arable harvest could fall to a record low of just over 18 million tonnes this year. Could cost farmers across the country more than £500 million. We'll be speaking to one farmer in Lincolnshire after your break.
Hello and welcome to your Met Office weather update for GB News. Today is going to be fairly changeable, with most of us seeing some rain at times. Still fairly warm in the south though, but looking at the bigger picture, low pressure still dominating, bringing these weather fronts southeastwards through this morning. But by the time we get to midday, these will have generally cleared southeast England, leading to a mostly cloudy afternoon, maybe the odd bright spell in places, but generally dry across much of England and Wales, except the northwest, so we will still see some showers across northwest England and Northern Ireland as well. Heavier rain across Scotland, where temperatures will only just get into the low teens for some. Warmer further south though, with highs of 26 or 27. To end the day though, let's have a look across the south coast. We'll see some brighter spells here if we get some breaks in that cloud, so a fairly pleasant end to Tuesday there. Still a chance of some showers further north, particularly across Northern Ireland and northwest England. That heavy rain though still persisting across northern Scotland, particularly across Orkney, where we'll have those heaviest bursts to end today. Moving through then to this evening and overnight, we've got a band of rain making its way in from the Atlantic, affecting Northern Ireland and then spreading southeastwards across England and Wales, meaning that most parts of England and Wales will have seen some rain by the end of Tuesday and into the early hours of Wednesday. Not quite clearing the far southeast by the time we get to the start of Wednesday morning, but those temperatures still feeling quite warm across the south. Definitely a cooler feel further north as we start Wednesday morning. Some brighter spells as well to start the day behind that band of rain on Wednesday. Some heavy showers though across Scotland and Northern Ireland, where we could still see some localised impacts due to the heavy thunderstorms, and maybe even a chance of some hail here as well. See you later.
Five hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news,
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight. On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
the Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
Because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 20 to 12. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom on GB News with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
It's a shocker this summer for farmers. They're warning that the extreme weather has put huge pressure on food security, drought, intense heat and wildfires. It's all affected the production of crops.
Well, GB News national reporter Jack Carson is joining us live from Leadenham. Good morning, Jack. What are farmers telling you there?
Yeah, morning to you both. Well, telling us really about the serious picture that they're facing. Of course, if you look around us here, we've got this now harvested field, and we'll come on to that in a moment, but we're currently sat stood in the edge of a beet field, which, you know, that's in the ground, still growing, and this hot weather right now is harming that. Let's speak to Andrew Ward, whose farm he's invited us onto today. Talk to us then about where we're standing and really what the weather is doing to these crops.
Well, we're in a great location here because we've got 2 fields of spring crops. So here is a field of sugar beet and behind us is a field of spring barley. If we look at the sugar beet first, it's half the size in tops that it should be. Normally on this land you'd get tops at this time of year 2 or 3 feet tall, and you can see here by this specimen we've got very few tops in here. They're only about 1 foot 15 inches tall. We've got a plant here that's stunted, it's misshapen, it's no bigger than a parsnip size. And by now this should be, you know, it should be like a pineapple. It should be as big as that.
Because ultimately with this kind of crop you get paid on sugar content, and so ultimately the size of it is a big part of actually where you then make the money.
Yeah, absolutely. On this heavy clay soils, we're on clay soils, not sandy land here. We have to harvest this sugar beet quite early, so it'll be harvested end of September, so we can get a winter wheat in after that. But the problem with harvesting sugar beet early when it's been dry is that we've lost a lot of yield because we can't leave it in the ground to put on weight. Sugar beet puts puts on weight in October, November. But sugar is what's important here, and we get paid on sugar content. And so hopefully this will be a bit higher sugar that will help offset. But we just don't know. But I know already spring crops and sugar beets really poor. So the yield of this, I'm not looking forward to seeing what the
Now, I want to bring viewers down. Let's just have a look actually down here at what the weather has done to the ground. I mean, these are almost like earthquake fault lines.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, just talk us through the impact, you know, that this weather causing these kind of cracks in the ground.
Well, I've got some fields further across that you stand on a lump like this and it will rock, it will move because of the cracks in it. But the problem with this is, obviously, this is helping dry the soil out as well. But this is what clay soil does. Light land and sandy land wouldn't have this. But the problem we've got is that when you look at the spring barley, if we touch on that spring barley behind us...
Let's move around, shall we? Because this is the field of spring barley, so this has already been harvested. So what point do you want to make about this in the weather?
Yeah, there's two things here. We've got cracks in the ground here, but we've also got bare soil. So when this crop was planted last spring, it was just so dry, we got real poor establishment and poor germination. So that's one issue. So our spring barley would normally yield about 8 tonnes a hectare. This field was 4.4. So we've lost our spring barley area. We've lost about £65,000 on our spring barley area. But the other problem we've got here, you can see there's some bales in this field, and we've got lots of these bales that are straw bales that will go to livestock farmers across in the west. But because we've got a poor crop and bad germination, not only have we got a low yield of grain, we've also got a low yield of straw. And this is the problem that will affect the livestock industry as well.
So how much of this can be helped because of the weather? The weather is the weather. But how much of this actually can be... it could possibly be helped by this £65 million that Andy Burnham and the government say that they're bringing in, that they would help you, you know, with kind of drought conditions and with, you know, ensuring that actually there is better yields, because, as he said last week, food security is national security. So it's a phrase we've heard a lot, but what do you think?
Well, that's the first time we've heard somebody from Labour actually say that, hasn't they? We've all said it, NFU has said it. But the problem we've got is that 65 million, 50 million of that's going into SFI, so it's going into non-food crops, and the other 15 million is into reservoirs, which it costs probably £2 or £3 million to put one reservoir in. But the problem we've got is we've got abstraction licences are being reduced or taken away, so it's all very well saying, right, we're going to give you some money to put a reservoir on the farm. How are we going to fill it if we can't get water into them? So there's a whole big picture here, is that the national security of food really needs looking at, and it needs to go right back to the drawing board.
All right, Andrew Ward, thank you so much for joining us here. We'll still be on Andrew's farm this afternoon, of course, as you heard there, you know, just exactly the kind of impact, and we can see physically, can't we, the impact that these conditions, the heat waves over the summer have had not only on the crops that have been harvested, but the crops that are still in the ground, supposedly growing to be harvested later this year.
Jack, thank you so much for that report. It really is a difficult time for farmers across the country.
Yeah, well, let's hope we get the rain. But then I read somewhere today that there could be floods on Thursday, which could cause even more problems.
Well, it rained overnight in Suffolk, and the trouble is the ground is so hard now that the rain will just wash off. It's not going to be absorbed into the soil, it's just going to run off.
But I did see a puddle this morning.
I saw grey sky. It looked
puddle
very unfamiliar.
I've seen for weeks and weeks, and I walked in it like a child.
Did you?
I did.
I have to get you some wellies.
Yeah. I sort of splashed about and thought, gosh, a puddle.
Isn't that amazing?
Revelation.
Wow, we're just not used to this.
We're not.
Well, coming up next, we're off to Balmoral, where the King has had quite the welcome reception this morning.
First, though, if you want some holiday sun, I don't think it's in Balmoral. Maybe it is. Here's the forecast of some of the top European destinations.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there. Still plenty of dry and sunny weather across much of Europe. Thunderstorms, though, will start to break out across parts of northern Italy and the Alps through the end of this week. Through Wednesday, though, high pressure's generally in charge. So much of Spain and Portugal seeing dry weather with temperatures in the high 20s, low 30s. You can see that outbreaks of rain starting to develop across northern areas of Italy there. That's signs of things to come. Severe thunderstorms through Thursday and Friday for a time. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Becky, Chad and the beekeepers, Richard, Mohammed and James. Well, thank you all for coming. So tell us what happened.
So I got a phone call about 7:30 on Sunday evening from one of the rangers to tell us that there was a forest fire that was spreading quite rapidly and the bees were in danger, and if we could get down as soon as we could to get them out.
And I suppose this is a real challenge, because bees, whilst they do flit around all over the place, they're pretty stuck to their colonies.
Yes, absolutely. The boys were the ones that were there.
When we approached it, the fire was quite close to the colonies, so we had to make a decision very quickly on whether or not to remove them from the apiary or keep them there and try and just water down the area. And after we saw flames on the horizon, we decided that, no, we've just got to make the decision to move the bees to a safer place, which we did.
GB News, the People's Channel. GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
I do think it's worrying that young people, I mean, are they I think they are more risk averse. Yes. I think they are scared of getting into personal space. I think you're right, there are issues about consent and everything else. But how sad that people say that it's been a year since they've been kissed. What is life for if you're not having a little kiss every now and again?
Yeah, the death of the kiss. Apparently, much younger people now haven't had a good snog in over 12 months on average, the people that have been interviewed. But I would hazard a guess that that's because people are frightened. Men don't know when they can approach women anymore. Men can think 1 or 2 steps ahead on the same board, whereas a woman will think about 18 steps. So
I think you're overthinking it.
If a man takes you to Paris for the weekend, a woman will come back disappointed that they haven't proposed to them, whereas a man thinks they've done a really great thing.
Why do men always think you're going to be proposed to in Paris? That you expect that. We don't expect that.
Men are not
Just take
emotionally
us
as
to Paris.
intelligent.
The People's Channel.
We're only here for like 12 hours. We're flying home at 11 o'clock tonight.
Oh, and mummy and daughter.
Yeah, and it only costs £70, so we thought, well, why not? Because it's cheaper than a supermarket shop.
Supermarket shop or spending the day in Benidorm with cheap booze.
It's a no-brainer, isn't it? It's a no-brainer.
And is there no chance you might just decide we're going to stay?
No, because my husband would kill me.
We did consider it because I said to my mum earlier on, we might just stay and miss the flight, but she's not up for it.
Has your husband actually visited Benidorm his own?
No, he hasn't. I've been here 27 times. That's my daughter's first time. She's a Benidorm virgin. But
well,
my husband's never been.
Not that he's told you anyway, let's put it like that.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom. Now, King Charles is in the beautiful Balmoral as the royal summer holiday has got underway this morning.
You're better to get the details than our very own royal correspondent Cameron Walker, who is in Balmoral. Are you wearing a kilt, Cameron?
I am not, Andrew. I left that one very much to the King and the Royal Regiment of Scotland, who, of course, are giving him a guard of honour outside Balmoral Castle this morning. The sun is shining. Yesterday, absolutely pouring with rain, so it's certainly the King certainly lucks out there. There was also a little Shetland pony, the mascot of the Royal Regiment of Scotland, called Crachen IV. Now, I'm told that that pony is particularly naughty. Once tried to eat the late Queen's flowers and once weed in front of her as well. Luckily, very well behaved in front of the King today, as he was also treated to the sounds of the pipes of drums. There was also a new regiment, the Balmoral Highlanders, which he's brought back for the first time in almost 100 years. It was disbanded in 1936 by his late grandfather, King George V. However, the crowds outside were actually quite substantial, considering it was all kept pretty secret until around 9 o'clock this morning, and tourists from all over the world were here. We spoke to some people from Italy. We spoke to an American lady who just happened by chance to be walking past Balmoral and wondered why there were so many police officers and soldiers here outside the gates. And also I spotted just beyond the gates to my right here on the actual ground was Peter Phillips and Zara Tyndall as well, and Mike Tyndall and their children. So clearly Princess Anne's children are up here on holiday, because that's the whole point, isn't it? It's beyond that gate. This is now the royal family's private time. We are expecting at some point, probably in the next couple of weeks, the Prince and Princess of Wales and their 3 children to come and spend some time with the King at Balmoral Castle, a place absolutely beloved by the late Queen, where she chose to spend her final days here. According to The Sun this morning, though, Prince Andrew's declined the invitation from his brother, the King, to stay here because he feels like he'll be an outcast, reportedly.
Well, Cameron, thank you so much for that report. And before we go this morning, we've got somebody very special to say happy birthday to.
Look at me, it's not me.
It's James Fanning, he creates this show. He is our producer, director. He's in charge, basically, isn't he, Andrew? And he decides what stories go in, and he's speaking in our ear all the time, telling Andrew to read rights of reply and, you know...
trying to make me do technical things which I can't do. Anyway,
so happy birthday, James.
Happy 40th birthday, James. We're very pleased for you.
We couldn't do this without you. And we know
if you'd known in advance, you'd have made him a cake.
He's so cross with us, he started the next show. I think that's our cue to get off air, Andrew. We'll be back tomorrow.
We'll look forward
Happy birthday to you. Sorry, James.
And who's next? It's Tom.
No, it's not Tom, it's Mark and Emily.
It's Mark and Emily.
Oh. See you tomorrow.
We just saw you, Andrew. How can you forget? How can you forget? A very happy birthday to James, of course.
Yes, happy 6th birthday.
But should we stop visas and aid from Pakistan because they're continuing to refuse to take back their grooming gang leader? Is enough enough?
And we'll have more on the about turn of the eco-energy tycoon and anti-Burnham advisor, Dale Vince, who now supports North Sea oil and gas.
Yeah. Funny on that.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. A cloudier day for many of us. Outbreaks of rain to start. It will become a little bit drier into this afternoon, and across the south and east it will stay rather warm. Elsewhere it's turned much cooler with northwesterlies moving in. Those will bring in showers to many northwestern areas through much of the day, but further south across parts of Wales and the Midlands it's going to brighten up into the afternoon. Slightly murkier weather pushes into the south and east by the end of today though, but it should remain dry across many southern areas. Still quite warm in the south. Temperatures still climbing towards the higher 20s, 27 possible across the very far south and east. Into this evening, rain will become a little bit more persistent for more southern areas and showers continue across more northern areas. Some of these quite heavy actually across the far north of Scotland. You can see those brighter colours. That shows where we'll see the heavier rain. It will be showery, so not everyone's going to see that heavier rain. And across eastern areas of Scotland, it will stay largely dry through this evening and overnight, with the showers more focused across western areas, pushing into parts of northwestern England, North Wales too. A dry start to the night across the south, but that will change as the night goes on. An area of quite light rain but persistent will push across more southern and central areas of England and Wales, bringing most areas a little bit of water on the ground. It isn't going to last all that long as it does clear through by Wednesday, but further showers are on the way throughout Thursday. Fairly fresh night for more northern areas, still quite mild and humid across the very far south coast. But that fresher feel will become more widely felt throughout Wednesday as we're all into that fresher air by the middle of this week. That brings sunny spells and some outbreaks of quite heavy rain. Some of these showers you can see do bring a risk of thunderstorm, which means hail as well as lightning too. So you could see some quite heavy downpours, but some sunshine in between with temperatures much closer to average for this time of year. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could win over £65,000 in prizes. You could be our latest Great British Giveaway winner. First of all, we want to give you £60,000 in tax-free cash. Plus, you'll also receive a fine gold bar worth over £5,000.
For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB Newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I think GB News is completely unique in the way that we interact with our viewers.
Our audience aren't afraid to have their say. They want their voices heard now, and they've got a channel where that can happen.
I find more and more as I'm wandering around, people come up to me and they say, we saw you on television. I say, oh yes, on what? On GB News.
Hello, are you the famous Sue? The whole crew hid me here now. We came to celebrate. It's our job to be the eyes and ears of the viewers.
They are part of the GB News family, and I'm pleased to say it's a very large family.
And if people go to the time and trouble of listening and watching, then we've got to do a good job for them.
Well, I'm here, right in the epicentre of the protest.
Here we go again. You just tuned in, where have you been?
It is raucous here tonight.
That's what makes us the fearless champion of Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 12 o'clock on Tuesday, the 18th of August. I'm Emily Carver.
And I'm Mark White.